Hi everyone and welcome to my first tutorial on Blender. So today I will try with my very special English and accent to teach you how to break things in Blender. If you are watching this, it may be because you saw this video that features multiple examples of destructions like this, and this is what we will recreate. Well, not as complex, but something a little similar, or it will take too long. Here is what we're gonna be doing. So, okay, it's not as awesome, but I think it will give you the basis, because at first I wanted to make something more complex. Well, it's just the same thing, but the tutorial was way too long for something that is really simple to do, because as you can see, it's just playing with a few nodes, logic nodes, and this is what this is why things are breaking, or seems to break. I think there might be a little disappointment, because I know some of you really expected real-time destruction, you know, like your object would really break automatically, but no, it's more a matter of setting up your model so that it seems it breaks with physics. So that's what we are gonna be doing today. So first we will model those pieces. It will be really quick to do. Then I will show you how to record your animations and maybe deal with it a little better to get a little better result. So let's start a new project and let's model our wall. As a beginning, we will deal with a default cube. Go in edit mode, type in SX to scale it down on the x-axis, like so. Now SZ to scale it down, like so. Then Ctrl R to create a loop. Okay, I will move this edge like so. Now I will duplicate it with Shift D and Y to move it like so. I will also mirror it SY minus 1. Now I select this, I will select this whole side and mirror it again SY minus 1. Okay, so now as you can see it fits in. So obviously it's really basic, I'm not going to do something really complicated. So let's duplicate it up, select everything, Shift D Z, select, okay, select those vertices and move them here, and maybe mirror it again SY minus 1. Okay, so select everything, L and move it down here. Okay, so let's duplicate it again, Shift D Z and move it up, and maybe mirror it again SY minus 1. Okay, now I will center it and maybe duplicate it again, select everything and Shift D Z to move it up. Okay, so we will also add two pieces on each side, add a cube, move it, well, scale it down, okay, move it right there, and select now the top vertices, okay, move it up, like so. Now hit L to select everything, and duplicate it, Shift D Y, and move it there. Okay, so basically we ended model our wall. Well, I will also move it down, okay, and well, select those pieces and move it there. Okay, so now it's done. We modeled our wall. And so let's add a floor let's add a plane. Whoop. Okay, so move it down and just scale it a bit. Okay, it should be good. Now let's add a sphere that we will launch on the wall, and scale it down, and I will smooth it also. And so we are done with modeling. Now we will let's now play with physics. Okay, so to do so, select the Blender game here. So now we are in the Blender game engine, and in order to give it a nicer look, what we can do is to add some lights surrounding the scene. So select your light, go into top view, and move this light to right here, and duplicate it with Alt D, Alt D, Alt D, Alt D. So why Alt D instead of Shift D? Well, because when you change the value of one light, each light will be affected too. For example, if I change, let's say, if I change this value to 0.4, let's say, this one as 0.42, 0.4, 0.4, and if we go into texture mode, as you can see, each light value is changing. Also, to give it a better look, let's go in the render panel. So click here and click on GLSL. So now we basically have our scene set up, and if you see this kind of glitching, so black color here, you can correct this by going into edit mode, select everything, and hit Ctrl N. So now it looks better. We are now in the Blender game engine. If I hit P for play, nothing happens. So first thing to do is to give material to our objects that we will use later. Select the sphere and give it a new material. Call it red and make it red. It's not really important what material you have. For example, if you already have modeled something else with other materials, those materials will also be useful too. So let's give material to the floor also, and let's make the material of the wall blue. So call it blue and make it blue. So if you hit P now, nothing happened. You can also click on Start in the render panel. Now we will give physics properties to the object. Click on Physics to get the physics panel. Let's give it a better view. So select the sphere, set it as rigid body, check collision bound, and here select sphere. Now select the wall, set it also as rigid body, check collision bound, and set it as convex hull. Now if you hit P, things are moving, physics is now operational, but still not as we want. What we want is our sphere to go this way, to be launched on the wall. Let's go in the logic editor. So move this up and select logic editor. Okay, so let's now throw the sphere into our wall, add a new sensor always, as well as a new actuator motion, and link them together. Okay, now find linear velocity, it's here. You want the sphere to move on the x-axis, well, minus x-axis here. Okay, so I will set the x value of the linear velocity up to, let's say, 10 and start again. Well, minus 10. Okay, now. So now my sphere moves the correct way, but as we added always sensor, the sphere will just keep moving forever. To counter that, just click on tap, so the sphere will only be given an impulse. I will maybe get this force a little higher, maybe up to minus 14. Okay. So there can be many ways to launch a sphere, but here is just the simplest way. So let's do it like so. What we want now is our wall to move only when the sphere touches it. First we need to freeze the wall, add a new sensor, always, and a new actuator. So a new actuator, edit object, set it as dynamics, and here to suspend dynamics, and link them together. Now the wall don't move anymore. So it's not really right because it's set for the multiple pieces of the wall, 4 letters instead of the actual wall. Okay, so now you want the wall to move only when the sphere touches it. So select the wall and add a new sensor, touch, and a new actuator, edit object. Change it to dynamics and restore dynamics. Link them together, and here you can choose the red material. So now the wall will move only when the red material touches it. So it's now almost done. Last thing to do is to separate our wall into multiple objects. Go into edit mode. So go into edit mode, select everything, hit P, and select by loose parts. So every unconnected mesh separates and keeps the physic and the given object value. Last important thing to do is that you want each pieces to have its own rotation center, or the result will be really weird. So hit space and type in origin, click on set origin and origin to geometry. So start it again, bang. So the result is not really awesome for now, but I think you understood the concept. What you have to know is that there is many ways to play with it and to get various results using those nodes and physics. And what you can do is you can duplicate your sphere, for example. Start again. You can create also many other objects, for example. So I will move those guys here and let's add a cylinder. Okay, so I will scale it up on the x-axis. Okay, again, and I will now give it the red material, so the one that makes the wall to move, and now add some physics properties, rigid body. Okay, check this, and select cylinder, rotate it, and I will rotate it like so, and start again. So you might guess that changing some value would give a far better result, and know that you can do really what you want, like so. So yes, it sucks here, but it's only the basis. Last thing I want to show you. Just know that there are many ways to break it, maybe with your keyboard, for example. And here you can set any key you want, so that it can just explode. or whatever you want. And what we can also do is to add a cube right here, for example, and make it flat. Okay, give it the red material and with some physics, but check ghost so that it will go through everything and give an effect of crawling. And if you click on invisible, it will just crawl. Okay, so this is a little parenthesis to the actual tutorial. I just wanted to show you that you can process this way for almost anything. As you can see, I took back some of the model I did for an earlier project, and I just processed this the same way. As you can see, it works as well. And I can also maybe break my desk a little more. Control A, P, section, select everything, P. Set origin to geometry, and come back into texture mode. And now, well, the lamp and the computer just don't move, but I think you understood. Maybe we can try something a little different. Okay. So I just set this cube as a ghost so that it goes through everything and just activate the physics of anything. Should need a little more work, but this is it. Okay, so sorry for that. Blender is being a rebel right now. So you probably now want to record your animation. So I will change it to timeline, and here in the game menu, check record animation and press play, P. As you can see, it speeds up a lot because your computer might not need a lot of time to calculate the path of each object. So it's really soft here, and it makes it under a second. And another thing you see is that if you play your record with Alt A, everything moves in slow motion, a kind of slow motion. I'm using 24 frames per second for this animation. So to avoid this slow motion, I will come back earlier, Control Z a few times, Control Z, okay, Control Z again. So nothing moves now, and to record your animation at normal speed, we need to change two values. One in the render panel, you can see here FPS 60, so change it to 24. And also in the world panel, you can see FPS 60 here, change it also to 24. So now if you record your animation, start it with P, so still so fast, but as you can see, now your animation just not more play in slow motion. So it goes the normal speed. So the bad surprise of this technique is that Blender will create a keyframe per frame for each object of your scene. So when you have a really complex scene, it can cause problem, especially if you want to use the graph editor. You see a million keyframes, like a cloud of keyframes, and that can make Blender to freeze and crash. So if you want to go into the graph editor, I recommend to go on an empty layer. So click for example here, open the graph editor window. Okay, so as you can see, there's nothing here, and if it's not already done, click on this button, the little cursor. So now it only shows the keyframe of the selected object instead of all keyframe of all objects. But if you have everything, for example, if I select everything, boom. Well, here it's still soft, but in more complicated scenes it can get really heavy, so it's better not to show everything. I also recommend to make some cleanup, for example on a non-moving object. As you can see here, nothing moves, so I will delete their keyframes. So as you can see, nothing moves, so those keyframes, you don't need them. So I will select everything that don't move, okay, and X and delete. So it's just the same thing. So I miss my sphere here, and if I want, I can replace it by something else now. So come back here and add why not Susan. So Shift S cursor to selected, Shift S selection to cursor to move Susan into the sphere. So scale it a bit down, and now I will select Susan and point it to the sphere. Control P, OK, and hide the sphere for now using H. And now Susan suffers again. So if you're not really into launching monkeys into walls, you can do anything you want, like I don't know, a spaceship or maybe an iron cat. It's up to you. So and finally, a really useful tip I can show you is how to simplify your curves. So your curves are really complex, which is not really helpful. So Blender has an add-on, at least on this version. Mine is 2.57. So go into File, User Preferences, and Add-ons, and find Simplify Curves. So if you don't see it, type in curve, and it's here, check it, and you can now close this window, select an object, and hit space. So select an object, hit space, and type in simplify, select it, as you can see, something popped up just here, and changing this value will simplify your curve. So it still keeps nicely the animation, so now your scene can become lighter than it was. So as you can see, you don't need all of those keyframes that Blender created before, and well, you can do it for anything. But what you can do with also with the keyframe is to play with it. For example, I will give an effect of slow motion by moving keyframes. So I select all those keyframes and GX, and now, as you can see, well, okay, so it's not really what I wanted, so I will do it back and maybe move it right there. Okay, select everything, and okay, move it again to here, maybe. And now you can see that there is a little slow motion when it breaks. Just, et voilà. It can give a cool effect, I think. That's it. That's basically how I created this video. with a little more work on it, obviously. You really can do more complex things. For example, here is an early test for a new project. Well, I will hide my spaceship for now. As you can see, it's the same process. So let's get my spaceship back. And so it sucks for now, but I will make it far better, I hope. And if you want to, I will make another quick tutorial to show you how to quickly model this building-like object. So I didn't model any of the pieces you see here. It's just a good use of the explode modifier. For now, that's it. I know it's this is maybe a really soft tutorial compared to what you may have expected, but I think thanks to it you will be able to create really cool animations. So for my first tutorial, I hope I took the right decisions, and if you have any observations or maybe questions, just ask and I will try to answer it the best way I can. For now it's done. Thank you for watching and see you later. Well, thank you.